Well, the calls have been growing, nearly all from Democrats, Lester, to use the 25th Amendment and make Mike Pence the acting president. 28 U.S. senators and 107 members of the House have called for it, including Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
We'll report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 21, resolution calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise powers as acting president.
Mental health professionals who are deeply concerned about President Trump's psychological stability. Dr. Bandy Lee is a forensic psychiatrist on the faculty of Yale School of Medicine. He edited the book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, 27 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess a president. The book became a bestseller the instant it was published in October. Sold out, resupplied, sold out again.
I'm told I should start with AP, and I'm told I should, and I'm told I should, and I'm told I should start.
We're bringing you part 2 of our conversation today with Dr. Lee. When I asked about her about the concerns that she and these other experts have identified.
Global warming has caused over $1 trillion. Excuse me, $100 billion.
Well, it's actually historically unprecedented that so many mental health professionals have come forth with their concerns. Under any president of any party. So it really is the first time that this many mental health professionals are coming together in a coalition. We even have a website now, dangerouscase.org.
You had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way, or deep into 2022.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your side. Yeah.
Where the public and lawmakers can discourse with us. There are thousands of us at this point.
So lay out what your concerns are as a psychiatrist.
Concerns are that someone with this level of mental instability and impairment has this much power in the office of the presidency. Basically, the power to start a devastating war, to launch nuclear missiles, having a loose grip on reality.
And what am I doing here?
The Long Beach
in the cabinet or the vice president in a body set up by Congress can determine that there's presidential incapacity for reasons physical or mental. And I think that concerns have been raised from the very beginning of the presidency about the cognitive state of the president, the emotional state of the president, and his ability to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, which is the principal job of the president of the United States.
Trump's emotional impairments, is a quote, are a cause for national concern. What are his emotional impairments?
Well, as you have outlined, he can't deal with the truth, and he can't distinguish the truth from what he would want it to be. And whether he has convinced himself or whether he knows that he's lying and is just able to get away with it, either way, it's impairing his ability to sort matters out and come up with reasonable and appropriate solutions.
You both, and I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we just talked about. And I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do, Nance, whatever you want me to do. Majority of economists, left, right, and center, from Wall Street to the private economic polling initiatives.
President Biden had that routine physical on Friday. His doctors concluded in a brief report that he is fit for the job with no mention of any sort of cognitive exam for the 79-year-old president. White House Dr. Kevin O'Connor said President Biden, quote, remains a healthy, vigorous 78-year-old man. He turned 79 on Saturday, who is, quote, fit for the duties and job of the presidency. This exam again happened Friday afternoon. The president, now the oldest ever to hold the office. We want to welcome in Texas Congressman and former White House doctor and chief medical advisor to the president, Congressman Ronny Jackson, who will be with us in just a moment. But this whole thing happened on Friday. It was very quiet. The report was less than 6 pages in all, and it left out any indication of whether or not the president was given any sort of cognitive examination. And this is something that now we have a body of work. We've got 10 months of President Joe Biden in office. So I think people are sort of questioning where the president is. Is it common practice for a commander-in-chief, or anyone for that matter, to have a cognitive exam as part of a routine physical? All right, let's welcome in the congressman. Congressman Ronny Jackson, great to have you on. Good morning.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.
I should do a little bit of a Texas two-step while we got you all geared up. Good to have you on this Thanksgiving Eve. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
Congressman, so you've done these reports before. You've done these exams before. When you looked at this report by Dr. O'Connor, were you surprised that anything was missing?
There was a lot missing, Rob. Honestly, there were 6 pages of stuff that most people just don't care about. I mean, you know, Dr. O'Connor spent 6 pages addressing like an occasional cough and some stiffness and things like that. When the elephant in the room was the president's cognitive ability. Over 50% of this country does not believe he's cognitively fit to be our commander-in-chief and our head of state, yet that wasn't addressed anywhere in there. We set the precedent when we did President Trump's physical. I did. The far left and the mainstream media were relentless in their pursuit of me to do something to address not only his physical capabilities, but his mental capabilities, which we did. We did a cognitive test. As far as I'm concerned, we set the precedent. And he should have had one done as well. I mean, if anyone needs a cognitive test, it's this president that we have right now. And I was really surprised to see there wasn't any mention of anything like that in there.
And I should say, you know, you treated President Obama as well. You were the White House doctor for a few years under
Bush
President
as well.
Obama and President Bush. Would a 79-year-old patient, Joe Biden, 79 years old, would something like a cognitive exam, would that typically be included in a routine annual physical?
Yeah, there's a big push right now from the geriatric community and from the family practice and primary care community to include a cognitive test in anyone as part of their routine physical exam over the age of 65. Certainly, if you have an indication to do so. And I think that we have a huge indication with President Biden. We've seen for years now that he's had these gaffes, but something's changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
These aren't gaffes anymore. He's confused and he doesn't know where he's at or what he's doing. So I would say beyond just a normal indication, there are indications related specifically to his behavior that would have dictated something like that should have been done.
Okay, so back to the original point. Do you think that maybe Dr. O'Connor deliberately kept stuff like that out of his 6-page summary? Would that be common practice maybe for national security purposes?
No, I don't think they did it. They didn't do it because they know if they do it, you don't ask questions or you don't want the answers to. And essentially, I mean, that's his approach right now, is not to ask questions that he doesn't want the answers to. Right. They know that if they gave him a cognitive test that he would have failed miserably, and then they would have had to explain that away somehow. And Dr. O'Connor should have done what I had to do whenever I briefed President Trump's physical, is stand up in front of the press in the press briefing room and brief the physical. I was up there for an hour and 15 minutes answering every single question that the press had, picking his physical apart. And instead, what did we get? We just got a 6-page report. And that's the end of it. We're supposed to just move on and play like everything's fine now.
And don't forget about the timing. It was on a Friday. Typical news dump happens on Friday. People aren't paying as much attention on Fridays as they are, middle of the week. My grandfather, and I've mentioned this to you before, he had Alzheimer's, but, at first he was just forgetful. He was forgetting his keys and things like that. My mom is a nurse. She sat in one of these exams, and they asked him, who's president? What month is it? What day of the week? Stuff like that. I don't know if that would be part of one of these cognitive exams, but based on what we know after 10 months of Joe Biden in office, the persistent cough, the stumbles, the awkwardness, he's not taking questions, he's reading off a prompter, still confusing words. Would a routine cognitive exam be something that you would request if you were still the White House doctor treating this president?
Absolutely. You have to reassure, like I said before, Rob, over 50% of the U.S. population does not believe that this man is cognitive. You have to do something to address that. And a cognitive screening test like the MOCA, like we did for Trump, would have been something you could do with that. It deals with visual spatial stuff, with naming, with memory, with different things like that. And it's a screening tool. It's a screening tool looking for cognitive decline, regardless of what the reason is, whether it's Alzheimer's or multi-infarct dementia or Parkinson's or whatever. And so something like that should have definitely been included in his physical exam, and it was purposely left out. And honestly, I just don't. I don't trust the medical team that's taking care of him right now to tell us the truth, anyways. But I think they purposely left this one out.
And when you were White House doctor treating former President Obama, you never treated Joe Biden for anything. You know, he's just walking around the building. You know, asked you to take a look at something. You never have treated the president.
That's right. He wasn't my patient. His physician, Dr. O'Connor, who was also his physician when he was vice president, worked for me, but I was not involved in his clinical care. But I saw him around every day, just like everyone else did.
Yeah.
And I can see that there's a huge change. Something has changed.
Right. And the report did say, this was a red flag to me, that he's got a stiffened walking pattern. Stiffened is the term they used. Did that stand out to you? What'd you make of that?
Of course, because that's also a physical manifestation of some of the cognitive diseases that you can have as well. So they tried to explain that away with, just being orthopedic related, but we don't know for sure, because we didn't get any detailed stuff.
Right.
Maybe they should have included an MRI of his brain and things of that nature too, but none of that stuff was there. It was all superficial fluff. 6 pages of superficial fluff is all we got, and they were doing it just to check a box.
Have you noticed that as everything around you seems to decline, one thing still grows? It is the power of your rulers. None of their plans and directives have solved your problems or made your life better. The only result has been their increased control over you at the cost of your freedom. Do you know why? You gave them the power.